Hello and welcome. Today I want to talk about Our Lady of Fatima because today is Our Lady of Fatima's feast day, and her feast day is today, May 13th, because May 13th is the first day that Our Lady of Fatima appeared to the three children of Fatima. And I really wanted to talk about this because I know most people know the basics of the story of Fatima, the sun dancing, the miracle, the thousands of people that saw the sun, and the three children that saw Our Lady of Fatima. But I recently read this book, The True Story of Fatima. You can get one by contacting the Fatima Center, and I have all of this linked below. So if you want to just get this book and not watch this video and read this book, that would be fine. And this book was written by a priest who spent so much time interviewing so many witnesses of this miracle of Fatima. And this book has the Nihil obstat and Imprimatur, and this book just really increased my faith, hope, and love, and I loved learning about all of the details of what happened at Fatima. So this all actually started in 1915 with a little 8-year-old girl, Lucia, and actually 3 other girls, 4 little girls. They were playing out in the fields, and whenever they noticed that the sun was at its peak, midday or at noon, they would pray the Angelus. They would have their lunch and they would pray the rosary and then go back to their playing. What sweet little children. Lucia's mother knew the Catholic faith and taught the Catholic faith to her children as well as other children in the town. Lucia's mother was very devout. She never missed Mass, so I'm sure she and other parents are how these sweet children knew these prayers. Anyway, in the year 1915, these 4 little girls, during their rosary prayer, they saw a shining cloud with an outline of a person, a human outline, and they actually saw this 2 more times. Then a year later, Lucia and her 2 cousins, Jacinta and Francisco, saw a light in the form of a man, and he revealed himself as the angel of peace, and he said, "Fear not, I'm the angel of peace, pray with me." And this angel taught them beautiful prayers. I have them in the description box below, but let's just pray one of them. My God, I believe, I adore, I hope, and I love thee. I ask pardon for all those who do not believe in thee, do not adore thee, do not hope in thee, and do not love thee. This angel appeared to these 3 children a second time, prayed with them again, and instructed them to make little sacrifices and accept sufferings for God. He taught the children to offer up everything as a sacrifice. Then this angel appeared a 3rd time, and he prayed with them again, but this time he appeared with the body and blood of Jesus Christ, the Eucharist, and the body, the host, was actually levitating, hovering over the chalice, and drops of blood dripped from the host into the chalice. Also, the 2nd and 3rd time this angel appeared to the 3 children, only the girls could hear what the angel was saying. Francisco could only see the angel and see his mouth moving, but he couldn't hear what he was saying. So only Lucia and Jacinta could hear the angel's words. Also, after the children saw this angel 3 times, each time they all felt exhausted. They didn't know why, but they all felt the energy sort of drained from them. So then on May 13th, 1917, these 3 sweet little children continued with their routine of praying their rosary after lunch. And this was a beautiful day, no sign of rain, and they saw 2 flashes of light. And the children were actually scared that it was going to start raining, and they were getting ready to run home. But they saw the most beautiful lady above an evergreen about 3 feet high, one of the oak trees native to Portugal. And this lady was in white and more brilliant than the sun. And she said, "Fear not, I will not harm you." And Lucia was bold and she asked, "Where are you from?" And she said, "I'm from heaven." And Lucia asked if she would go to heaven. And she said, "Yes, you shall." Jacinta, will she go? And the lady said, yes, you shall. And Francisco, will he go to heaven? And the lady said, yes, he shall, but he will have to pray many rosaries. And there were two women that Lucia knew that had passed on recently, and she asked if they were in heaven. And the lady said that one was in heaven, but one was in purgatory until the end of the world. And this beautiful lady asked the children, do you want to endure much suffering that God chooses to send to you as an act of reparation for poor sinners? And Lucia answered for all three, yes, yes, we do. And the lady said, God will be your comfort, and she instructed them to pray the rosary every single day. She also told them to return to the exact same spot, the exact same hour, the same day for the next 6 months, and that she would also appear a 7th time, and she would reveal who she was, what she wanted. And she also extended her hands, and the children said that this beautiful light penetrated them in their hearts, from her hands to their hearts. And they truly felt God and his love, and they said that they could see themselves in God. So they were just intimately one with God in this mystical experience. And after Our Lady left them, they felt the strength of God. So unlike when they saw the angel and they felt tired, they felt strong and strengthened by God and his grace. So after this, the children started making sacrifices because they knew that these acts of reparation were pleasing to God. So they started giving their lunches to other poor children, and they would just eat acorns. And the children actually didn't tell anyone about these sacrifices. Only much later did Lucia talk about these sacrifices that her and her cousins made in childhood. And the three of them decided not to tell anyone that they saw Our Lady, but Jacinta was so excited, she told her parent, and then they told others, and then the whole town knew about it. And Lucia's mother did not believe her. She was convinced that she was lying, and she actually beat her. So Lucia experienced much suffering. She was physically abused, emotionally abused, and ridiculed by the whole town. So the next month, the same happened. Our Lady appeared to the children again, but this time some adults followed them, and they couldn't hear Our Lady's voice, but they heard a humming. They said it sounded like a hummingbird, like a bee. And this second time that Our Lady appeared, she shared with the children the Oh My Jesus prayer to add to their rosary. They were instructed to add it after each decade. I love this prayer. I just talked about it on the Gracefully Catholic channel, so I have that linked below. And after this second apparition of Our Lady, they visited with their local priest, and the local priest was convinced that this was of the devil, that this was not from God. The next month, so this is the third time Our Lady appeared to the children, she showed the children hell and how horrific it was, and she also gave them several warnings that mankind needed to do. And at this time, Our Lady instructed the children to keep it a secret. After this third apparition, Jacinta had a vision of the Pope crying, and Lucia continued to be ridiculed by everyone, especially by her own family, and her mom physically abused her. Then around this time, the chief magistrate, I don't even really understand what that position is. I don't understand the political structure of Portugal, but he had a lot of political power and even judicial power, and he was a Freemason and undermined the church and the church's priests in a newspaper that he owned. And he summoned the two fathers and Lucia. So the father of Lucia and the father of Jacinta and Francisco. So random. It is so hard for me to say Lucia. That's the Portuguese way to pronounce the name, but I really want to say Lucia, which is the Italian pronunciation of the name anyway. So if I sound like I'm fumbling, I'm just struggling to say Lucia. Anyway, this chief magistrate was 6 miles away, so this was a substantial journey for them to get to. Lucia was placed on a donkey, and she actually fell off the donkey 3 times going to visit this chief magistrate. And once they arrived, he threatened to kill Lucia if she didn't reveal the secret that Our Lady gave to her. So then the next month, this would be the 4th apparition. On the day of the 13th, the day of the apparition, the chief magistrate actually showed up at Jacinta's house, and he convinced them all to get in his carriage. He said, let's go to the church and talk to the priest there before we go to the apparition site. The children were questioned by the priest, and then after that, the chief magistrate again, got the children into the carriage and said, okay, let me take you to the cove. And he kidnapped them, and he took them home with him, and he locked them in a room, and he threatened to keep them locked in there forever until they revealed the secrets that Our Lady told them. Thankfully, the chief magistrate's wife was a kind woman, and I guess when he wasn't around, she let them out of the room, fed them, and let them play with her children. So since these children were kidnapped, they missed the 4th apparition. Our Lady did appear on the 13th because other people knew that was the day, the 13th, so they arrived at the place where she always appeared above the evergreen. And the people there said that they saw thunder, flashes of light, a cloud, and they saw flowers everywhere and colors everywhere, but the children weren't there, so they said that they saw the cloud go away. So the next day, on the 14th, the chief magistrate, he tried to bribe the children, and then he started threatening the children. He threatened to send them to jail and also to throw them in a boiling pot of oil. He would question one and say, okay, you're going in the pot of oil, and he would take them away. And so the other 2 really thought that the first one had died, had been put into a boiling pot of oil, and he did that with the 2nd and the 3rd, but thankfully he just put them in a room. But how traumatizing for those children. They thought that their cousin or their sibling, in the case of Jacinta and Francisco, had died, had been thrown into a pot of oil. That is so traumatic for a child, but it shows that the apparitions are real. They still did not reveal the secrets because they'd rather die than disobey Our Lady, because they knew that they were going to heaven. They comforted each other and they said, if they kill us, it's okay because we're going to heaven to be with Our Lady. So the chief magistrate couldn't get anything out of the children, and he realized the people of the town would be so angry if he didn't return the children, so he ended up returning them to the local church. So the children, were upset and sad to miss Our Lady on the 13th, but she actually appeared to them on the 19th of August. And the children asked Our Lady if she would do some miracle so that everyone would believe them and stop torturing them, and she promised them a miracle in October. And people in the town who did believe were donating money, and the children asked, what do we do with this money? And Our Lady said to use the money for the feast day of Our Lady of the Rosary, some of the money, and then for some of the money to be used for a chapel to be built where she had been appearing. And after Our Lady left on August 19th, the children pulled off the branch of the tree that Our Lady's feet rested on, and they brought it to their parents, and there was a beautiful yet inexplicable odor coming from the branch. So this video is getting really long, so I'm gonna have to stop for now, but definitely make sure you're subscribed so you can tune in for part 2 of the True Story of Fatima. And I think it would be beautiful for all of us to pray the Rosary today, because that was one of the big messages of Our Lady of Fatima, was to pray the Rosary every day. So I hope you join me in praying the Rosary today. I hope you have a beautiful day, and make sure to tune in for part 2. Bye.